Enough to witness one of the most spectacular displays in the universe. For the first time in more than 50 years, a meteor shower is expected to rain down on Earth. Debbie King has this report.
Oh.
Really?
Ah, well.
Yes, there are slight problems actually. Something to do with a meteor shower, I think, coming down from Earth. Are we going to be able to show that or not? Right, we'll just quickly, we'll talk about Simon. Do come and join us on the sofa and tell us whether we're going to have a look at pictures a bit later on of this meteor shower and attractive pictures, we hope, at some stage. But are we going to be able to see it? Because that's the problem, isn't it? If it's cloudy, we won't be able to.
Well, I think most parts of the country are going to be able to see it. The only place probably that won't is going to be Kent, and I think Kent will see low cloud just drifting onto the coast. But elsewhere, skies should be clear, and it should be quite a spectacular display. Actually, I think.
Yeah.
It looks like being quite a good one.
Do you know anything about meteors?
I know a little bit about meteors. Of course, I can. Well, basically, meteors are very often caused by the Earth travelling through the path of a comet. Comets are just these flying masses of ice and dust going through space, and basically, Earth goes through them from time to time, and we get meteor showers.
Well, we can now go back to that report that Debbie King has.
This is a comet, a huge lump of rock and ice billions of years old with a tail millions of miles long. When that tail hits a planet, it causes meteors or shooting stars. Tonight we could see the biggest shower of shooting stars in over 50 years, if, as some predict, the Earth collides with the tail end of the comet Giacobini-Zinner, causing millions of particles of dust to scatter throughout the orbit. Each small grain dates back to the beginning of time, scattering at speeds of 45 miles per second as their host comet hurtles through the planetary system. If we're lucky, we should be able to see it throughout the country. If not, we'll get another chance next month, when a second comet trails across our skies.
How exciting.
Spectacular, isn't
I think that's going to be great. I should be out there at 10 o'clock this evening, even though I should be in bed.
Or get your thermals on.
Yes, indeed. Pretty nippy out there.
Yeah, a woolly hat on. There's just finally a piece in the Mirror. Lift off with the space age, they're calling it. This chap, John Glenn, first went into space in 1962, and he's just about to go and orbit the Earth again at the age of 77, which is pretty incredible. Comedians are joking that the cabin light's going to have to be left on all night so that he can find his way to the bathroom, which is very unfair. Not very kind, because it says here that he's fitter than men half his age. So there you go, there's hope for us all.
Yeah.
Very brave indeed. So, you'll be out there tonight?
I suppose I will be. For a short while, yes, seeing what we can see.
And if we don't, as we said, it may come again in November, yeah?
Is it November, is it?
I think it is, November, yeah.
Okay.
Another chance now. OK, that's it from the news hour for this morning.
So, and Simon is going to be back again with all the weather news after the break.
So are we. With that pounding head and blocked up nose. But first, take a look at this.
Pounding head, blocked nose, sore throat. On average, we get a cold twice a year. That means around 200 colds in a lifetime. Youngsters tend to suffer more often, but for the elderly, they can be fatal. 85% of deaths over the age of 70 are linked to flu. People are at their most contagious in the early stages, before their body's defences have begun to fight the infection. But what's the best way to beat it?
Paracetamol, Disprin, hot whiskey.
Just take some vitamins.
Just try and sweat it out.
Aspirins, lots of aspirins.
I take a garlic capsule every day.
If it's bad, just stay in bed.
You're most likely to catch a cold if your immune system is down. So if you're stressed or on a poor diet, you're more at risk.
Well, as I indicated, Dr. Hilary Jones joins us now from a chemist in South London. So what you're saying, Hilary, is that if you've got a cold, you doctors don't want to know.
Oh, we're very sympathetic, always, as you know. And that poor Anne Davis reading the news.
Oh, no. Yes.
All by give her a hug from me.
We're not sure she's going to make it to the end of the programme, frankly.
I think she will. She's tough, you know, she's made of strong stuff. But we can be sympathetic, but I'm afraid when we're asked for antibiotics, people are asking us to prescribe something which could do more harm than good if they've just got a cold. Antibiotics don't deal with viruses. They have no effect whatsoever, and they can cause more harm because they can cause rashes, they can upset your tummy, and you don't need them. We can introduce strains of resistant superbugs, which we already have in hospitals and we don't really want. So it's difficult. 1/4 of the population are going to be coming in this winter, putting pressure on us doctors to prescribe them antibiotics for colds that aren't going to respond. And so, you know, we will be sympathetic, but really, people are better off self-medicating, and they just need the confidence to know what to take.
OK, so they go to the chemist instead, the chemist, sort of chemist you're in now. What's the best cure for, say, a sneezing or a runny nose?
Well, of course, not everybody wants to take symptomatic relief, but it is most people do. They want to get rid of that congestion or the runny nose or whatever. So I've got a selection here which I'll tell you sort of things that people would choose most often. First of all, there are the nasal sprays or the nasal drops to clear a bunged up, congested nose. There are the sprays for the throats or the lozenges which ease the pain of sore throat. Then there's the antihistamine preparations which you can get in tablet or syrup form, which dry up the nasal secretions, stop a moist cough, a productive cough, and help you sleep at night. There are many varieties of that. For children, there are other varieties as well. For the pains and the aches in the muscles and the fevers, then obviously there's a selection of different kinds of analgesics, pain relief, and again, those are available in formulations for children. And then if you've got more flu-like symptoms and things are just a little bit worse, then you've got things for dry cough, productive cough, etc.
Yeah,
But you don't have to spend vast sums of money, you really don't, because my advice would be to get some simple Linctus, which is just the syrup in which there are no active ingredients, which helps to soothe that tickly throat, and some ordinary paracetamol, which will cost you just a few pennies. They may not be as palatable as the other more expensive varieties, but they do just the same job.
Or a nice large one before you go to bed.
A nice large hot toddy does no harm at all, the doctor says. What I would say is that if you think about all of these preparations, they all have a place and they can all be used appropriately, but antibiotics can have side effects. Antihistamines can make you drowsy if you're driving or operating machinery. Paracetamol can be taken accidentally in overdose if you're taking lots of things together. So just be careful. These things are appropriate in some places, but in other places they can do more harm than good.
Do me one favour, Hilary. I've never fully understood, I suspect a lot of other people haven't fully understood the difference between a cold. When does a cold become flu? Is it with the aches and pains?
Well, a lot of people say that they've got the flu when they've got a bad cold.
Men say that.
Flu is... Yeah, I heard that. I'll talk to you later. It's true, by the way. We are hypochondriacs, and I should know I am a man. But what happens is that people say, I've got the flu, when they've got a bad cold, and a flu is quite different. You know if you've got flu, you cannot get out of bed. Your temperature is very, very high, and you have profound muscle pain and aching. Your joints may hurt or even swell up, and it's a question of getting out of bed and falling over. Flu is quite a serious condition, and it's really relatively rare. And that's why, you know, this is the season that people who are most vulnerable, the elderly, people with respiratory infections, heart disease, kidney, liver infections, people who are immune deficient, should be thinking about a flu jab at this very moment, because the worst of the bugs will be on their way from different parts of the world about now.
Yeah, so obviously doctors are quite prepared to treat flu.
Sure.
And I wasn't being rude, by the way. I mean, I do understand. When I was taking the mickey bit at the beginning, I mean, I do understand that doctors are under a great deal of pressure, and it's stupid for people to go along to see them, quite frankly,
it's
with
very
a
difficult,
cold.
you know. People have got sort of used to the idea of taking antibiotics for a cold, because what happens, they come along and they say, well, doctor, my last doctor gave me antibiotics. Why are you being difficult? Difficult for the doctor to answer that one, and they say, well, last time I had antibiotics it got better 2 days later, and the truth is the cold would have got better anyway. Most cold symptoms last about 2 weeks, so you can expect to have some symptoms for up to 2 weeks.
Just about everybody I know has got a cold of some kind or other at the moment. What if those symptoms persist, Hilary? What should they do?
Well, I think if there's anything unusual about that cold, if it goes down onto the chest, if you're bringing up a lot of discoloured phlegm and mucus, if you're feeling really crook after a week, crook is a medical diagnosis that
Aussie phrase, actually.
that I often use. Then obviously you need to at least have a consultation with your doctor, give him a ring and maybe run those symptoms past him, because obviously there can be complications, and sometimes the complications be serious, and if that happens you need to speak to the doctor. But for general mild aches and pains, then I think most people can live with those and be a bit more stoical and maybe not bother the doctor.
Quite right. Hilary, thanks very much indeed for being with us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think eating lots of vegetables, and particularly onion soup, is very good for colds.
Very good for you.
Talking of which, I'm just reading this wonderful book here, which is The Women of Coronation Street. And in there they've got all little sections and things, including